cut straight to the chase because I know what you guys want to hear. I made $45,000 in my first year of Tutor Boss. So I wanted to make this video not as a bragging point, but more because I've learned so much over this past year, and I really wanted to share with you what it was like starting a coaching business, because a lot of my clients are tutors who are starting their service-based business too. And so I literally went through the process alongside my clients. Yes, I've built up my own tutoring business before, but this is my second business that I've set up. I have so many nuggets of knowledge that I've learned over this past year that I'd really love to impart on you, so that you know moving into this next year for yourself some of the things to avoid, some of the things that you can look forward to, and some of the things you can actually do to help your own growth. The second reason why I'm doing this is also more so of a selfish one. I have been chronically somebody who has never really celebrated her own successes, has never really owned her own successes. I've always been somebody who's created my own rat race, and I'm always like looking for the next accomplishment and looking for the next thing, which I've talked many times on my TikTok, my Instagram, and on this channel before. And so this is really just me to take a pause, take a moment to reflect and see how far I've come. And hopefully this is a habit I can really build into my own journey moving into the future, because I think it's truly something that is healthy for me and really good for my mental state as well. First, here's a really quick snapshot of what Tutor Boss is. I started Tutor Boss last year because I wanted to help other tutors start or grow their own tutoring businesses. I'm somebody who started my own tutoring business when I was 19, started tutoring, quit my pharmacy career, and ended up doing tutoring full-time, and then ended up hiring 40 tutors on my team, and now we service 200 students, and we've published study guides and so much more. And I've really created this life for myself that I'd never imagined, and I just know that there are so many tutors out there who don't realize they can do this for a living, two, are amazing tutors but don't have the resources to actually build a business because maybe they don't feel that entrepreneurial spirit as much, or they don't lean into it as easily. And so I realized that this is such a viable career for so many people, and we have such a great impact that we can impart on the world. Why not start teaching others how I did it? Because I've walked the walk myself. So my aim with Tutor Boss in the first year was to make 100K. I obviously fell short of that, and I realize now it was for multiple reasons, and I'm actually really glad that I set it up to be that goal, because even though I've failed, really, I've grown as a person, you know, and that's just something that is priceless. So I've got a few questions here that were asked of me about my journey over this past year trying to get to 100K. So I'm going to answer these as we go. Why do you think you fell short of the original goal? What were the contributing factors? There was one main contributing factor as to why I fell short of that 100K goal, and that was primarily because of my time. Ironically, as I became more and more successful and more clients were onboarding me, I actually got capped out. I maxed out my time and I couldn't service any more people. And that's because I was balancing Tutor Boss with my tutoring business, Lisa's Study Guides, at the same time. So I realize now, and this is something that a lot of my clients face as well, is that because we are one person and we only have so much time in the world, a lot of us actually get capped. We onboard students and everything's exciting and all is well until we literally cannot onboard any students anymore. And this means that we're actually capped in terms of how much revenue we're making in our business. So that's why the one lesson I've learned from here is to actually start forecasting what your demand looks like and how soon it will be until you actually get maxed out, and what you should be doing up until that point, so that you can have a waiting list set up, so that you can either start hiring a tutor beforehand. For me, I wasn't planning on hiring any coaches to work with me. That's a future thing. But for my clients, I realized that a lot of them also get stuck at a particular income when they're capped. So I was stuck also charging a particular income. And so when I was capped, my income was also capped. And what this made me realize is that for a lot of my clients, when they max themselves out, they also max out their income too. And it's worse for my clients because often you have a student throughout an entire school year. So there's no way for you to really increase that income unless you're doing other things, unless you're selling products, selling resources, selling study guides, or you're going to hire another tutor. So what this has made me incorporate into my own coaching for my clients is how can we steadily increase your prices as you're actually getting closer to maxed out so that you can increase that overall revenue as well. Having said this though, I am so proud of making that 45K, and also the fact that I know for sure now that I can actually repeat what I've built in Lisa's Study Guides, my first business, and actually start up a second business. You know, the first business wasn't a fluke. I was able to build up a service-based business then, and the second time round, I'm able to build up another service-based business, which means that the systems that I'm using for myself and that I use for my clients actually work. So I'm really confident when my clients come to me that the things I teach them I know work for sure. Next is, was there anything that surprised you with the trends in how TutorBoss performed? For example, was it consistent month-on-month growth? It was actually month-on-month growth until I actually was capped with my time. So I realized that I was the bottleneck of my business, and therefore I needed to solve that problem quite quickly. And so how I solved that problem personally was I finished up with my clients that I was working with. I put people on a waiting list, and then I also increased my prices, because what usually happens is when you increase prices, there may be slightly less demand because you're increasing that price bracket. And when you increase the price bracket, you're attracting a different type of audience. The idea is, however, is that you are so good of a marketer that you can continue that demand, if not create even more. But as a short-term temporary measure, I just thought to myself, you know what, I'm just going to increase my prices. This means I'm going to continue making just as much, if not more, but I also free up my time working with fewer people. When I was able to free up my time, it meant that I was able to actually have space and to actually breathe, to actually then produce even better quality content for my clients, to then actually be more invested in them because I actually had time to be more invested in them, whether that meant supporting them outside of our sessions, making sure I went out of my way to get them resources. So that's something you can think about too if you're a tutor and you're thinking about whether or not you should increase your prices or not, because really if you can free up your time, it means that you're able to provide better value for your students, and that is a self-fulfilling prophecy in that you're actually providing them more value, which is a warranted reason for you to increase your prices. Is there anything you would do differently in hindsight based on these incremental results? I have learned that I need to be more protective of my time than ever. And it's not just about your time, it's about your energy levels too. I got really burnt out actually trying to manage both Lisa's Study Guides and TutorBoss, and I was not in a good place. And it took me a couple of months to actually recover from my burnt out, where I went from like 120 down to like 20, where I was doing the bare minimum to get things going, but there were days where I was just like sitting on my couch trying to recover. And so I know now that there's always going to be times in your life where things do get busy and you do head more towards that burnout, and there will be other times in your life where things are more chill. But going through that experience helps me understand at what point I usually burn out, how many hours a week I should be doing to be performing at my best. And really, I think the shift in my mindset is actually respecting my energy levels. You know, it's not how much can I get out there and do, it's respecting myself and my body and seeing how much I can be capable of day to day to maintain a healthy balance. How would these results make you reconsider your approach to goal setting for next time? So previously, I used to be very like monetary driven, and it was just about that final result. Whereas now, and it's very cliche, I understand that it's more about the journey. It's more about the gain rather than the gap, which is a book that I've read in the past where, you know, in the past, I was always thinking about the gap. Like it's about where I am right now and where I am compared to that 100. But now I'm thinking about the gain. Like I got to okay, and here's everything I learned along the way. I'm not thinking about the gap, the missing 65K that's there. And that shift is really powerful and really nourishing, actually. In terms of a goal, I still think it's important to have goals, and I think there's nothing wrong with having a monetary goal. So for next year, or for this year of Tutor Boss, I actually want to try to hit 120K, which is 10K months consecutively. You know, I'm not too tied to that 120. I know, again, it's going to be about the journey. But yeah, that is where I'm at. And so the last question is more a statement. It's just my final reflection. How do I feel overall about these numbers? And honestly, I feel really proud. If you asked the old me, like from a year ago, I would have been really disappointed. I would have felt like a failure. I would have been embarrassed to even tell you this, but I've just done so much inner work. I've realized that there's no point bashing myself up over this kind of stuff, and that if I just reposition how I see things, then I'm actually feeling a lot more empowered, and I feel proud, and I can share these lessons with you guys. And my clients and I often talk about a lot of this stuff, you know, being really hard on yourself and what it's like being hard on yourself as an entrepreneur, because it's all on you. There's all this weight on yourself. So if you are somebody who is interested in becoming a client of mine, then I would absolutely love for you to check out my free masterclass, the 3-step framework to a 6-figure tutoring business. I teach you the 3 common mistakes tutors make, and if you resonate with it, then there's an opportunity for you to apply to work with me afterwards. So go ahead and watch that if you're interested, and I really appreciate you watching all the way until the end of this video. I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments on the conversation that I've had with you today, because this kind of stuff is stuff that I love talking about, you know, about our journeys, about our progress, about our lessons and learnings. So I hope that this gives you some sort of insight, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.